Hey there. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Tinnitist TV. Today I am talking with Hayden, a man who just needs to know one thing. Are we good? That's the title of the Toronto singer-songwriter's latest studio album, and it's a fair question. After all, it's been nearly 8 years since his last album, though not for want of effort. During his time away, Hayden, whose last name is Dessner, wrote and recorded about 60 songs in Skyscraper National Park, the studio on the top floor of his home. Thankfully, with the help of new collaborators and old friends like Leslie Feist and the Nationals' Matt Berninger and Aaron Dessner, he was finally able to get out of his attic and his own head to release Are We Good, which delivers more of the introspective indie folk ballads his fans know, love, and want. A few weeks before the album arrived, Hayden zoomed in from that home studio to talk about fleeing convicts, scraping off the rust, wearing his heart on his sleeve, and lots more. Enjoy.
Hello?
Hello,
Hey,
Hayden. How are you doing?
good. How are you?
I am good, thanks. I'm looking behind you. What a great room you're in there. It's your home studio, I guess.
It is. This is where the magic occasionally happens.
And I think I can speak for a lot of people when I say that I'm glad it's apparently happened again recently. Are We Good is your first album in 8 long years. Are you nervous about that?
Jeez.
It's been a while.
Maybe I think one of the reasons it took so long is that I wasn't overly excited about putting something out into the world, maybe even this world,
As opposed to another world?
the world from a few years ago.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay, I
yeah.
got you. Why were you not
This
excited
world.
about putting something out? What had happened?
Um, I don't know because my favorite thing within this whole experiment has always been the writing and the recording of songs, the creation, the moment of inspiration. That's my number one. My close second is probably the 2 hours on stage each night, but everything that leads up to those 2 hours on stage and the selling of oneself, that's a hard pill to swallow or to even get close to my mouth.
Well, I mean, I think anybody who's paid any attention to you over the decades knows all of that about you pretty well.
I
Um,
know, it's just you'd think it's things would have changed after all these years, but no.
but was there sort of was there like a specific pivotal moment or incident or something after the last album and the last tour that made you kind of go, you know what? I think it's time to take a break.
No, that happened in 1999 when I sort of contemplated not being, a professional musician anymore and sort of slowly finding my way back. But no, that nothing like that. Uh, this, the process, since my daughter was born almost 14 years ago, things are complex in my life and take uh for those of you that don't know, she has developmental disabilities, and yeah, life at home is difficult, and getting concentrated time to create, sometimes creating is sort of a luxurious scenario in my life. Uh, However, when I do get it, I do not waste time how I did in my 20s and 30s.
Sure.
I make really good use of time when I get it now. So I'm
Okay.
kind of all over the place. I don't even remember what your question was now, but
That's okay. We're just
yeah,
talking.
yeah,
So
we're talking.
should I take that to mean that most of the songs on this album were kind of written and put to tape in a fairly compressed time, or not?
compressed chunks of time, yes,
Okay.
but over long periods of
Oh,
time.
okay.
And for, yeah, you know what I mean? So for better,
Yeah.
for worse, sometimes, yeah, a very quick, inspired time period where a lot got done, but then weeks and weeks after
Mhm.
that, going back to those inspired moments and toying around, adding this, doing this, living with something for 2 weeks. Yeah, very strange process. I know everyone works differently, but I think some songwriters would look at how I put things together with, like they'd be like, geez, this guy, I've never, I don't know how he lives with himself. Uh,
Well, the thing is, though, I've talked to a lot of artists who made pandemic albums, quote unquote, which is not to suggest this is, but who had this kind of enforced shutdown and all of a sudden had the luxury of being able to go, you know what, I don't have to write this album in between tour cycles or whatever, and had this luxury of being able to put something down and, as you said, live with it and come back to it and maybe go, oh, you know what, I should change this, or get a second idea, get a better idea. So actually what you've been doing lately has, I think, kind of, don't want to say caught on, but there's been a lot of other people doing it lately. So you're just you're ahead of the game.
Yeah, well, it- I mean, yeah, it basically all of my albums have been pandemic style albums. Yes,
There you
that's
go.
true. Yeah, I'm a real trailblazer. I remember back when SARS happened in Ontario. I forget the year, but I remember it was very early 2000s, I think. And uh, my wife and I joked, we were boyfriend and girlfriend then, but we joked that our lives didn't change at all when we actually were in quarantine, and like nothing changed. You know what I mean? Anyway, yeah.
No, I hear you. Welcome to my world. But I love that the album title, "Are We Good?" It just seems like the perfect title for somebody, kind of returning after a lot of years away.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the title has several meanings, which I like. So yeah.
Yeah, those are the best ones. I understand that obviously over the course of you saying writing over the course of several years, you amassed something like 60 songs to pick through for this. Um, when you have that kind of mass of a body of work, you obviously can arrange it into an infinite number of albums, I would suspect. How did you eventually whittle it down to the tracks that are on this album?
Oh my goodness. Well, that's how I almost went crazy and drove my family crazy. Uh, I I will say this for the first time in many many years, I was worried a couple times on this one where I was thinking, have I lost the ability to know when something is right, or if I know, did I lose the ability to know that that was the take,
Mhm.
that that's the version that I want to release? And I, whenever I was sort of semi lost in any other record, I at least knew I had that barometer that kind of worked. And then on this one, yeah, there were a few times I was like, I don't know. And that's why maybe like 3 years into it, when Aaron Dessner got involved, he kind of got involved like overhead in a way, like a helicopter with a light shining on me kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
I visualize it
So
like
you were
that. I
like a
mean,
fleeing convict, is that what you're
yeah, I
saying?
was like, gosh, what am I doing? Yeah. But he's so, like, you see how many projects he works on at
Yeah.
once and how prolific he is. Like, he just has a great ability to like just like look down on something and be like, oh, okay, yeah, and do this, and um it came at a pretty good time because I had had like two records that I thought were finished already, and I had my uh so those were like the A songs, but then I had a whole file of like 30 songs that whatever I had deemed in the B section for whatever reason. And so he asked for, he heard the A record and asked to for the B ones, and ended up saying, "Can we please work on like 6 of the B ones and just maybe keep like 3 of the A ones?" So he kinda like, and that was amazing, but also, like, I was just like, what do you mean?" You know? Uh, so, there were moments like that where I was, like, thrown off the rails for better or for worse, because in the end, even though it was incredible working with him, but there was a lot of baggage going on at the time with what I had been through with the record. In the end, only 2 of the songs that he worked on with me made the record, not because he's not incredible or that the songs were bad choices, just for like 100 different reasons, you know?
This wasn't the album that they needed to go on, I'm guessing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Talking about Aaron and Matt, I am guessing you just met them through your standard music industry kind of scenario where you were playing a gig together, or something like that. But you meet a lot of people in those scenarios, and obviously you don't end up collaborating with them, or I get the sense even becoming friends with them, as it seems like you've got a relationship with these guys. Um, Aside from the obvious musical connections, what is it about them that makes them, good people to work with and good people to know, and somebody who you are willing to break quarantine to deal with?
um, well, the first thing I'll say is that, of sort of contemporary bands, or even, I guess, that they're slightly younger than I am. They're they're one of my absolute favorites. You know, I've had their new record in my phone for several months now, and it's absolutely incredible. I mean, I just so the band and each player and what each person brings to that band are very dear to my heart. um but yeah, they also, I have known them for years, and they're cool guys, and they have a funny thing with me because my record, from 1998, The Closer I Get, before their band it was formed, that was a big record for Matt and for Aaron and for Bryce. So they talk about what that meant to them and what so there's a bit of a mutual admiration society going on, which is kind of fun. And then
It's
for
too.
the
I mean, that
song,
that
oh, sorry.
sorry, I was just going to say that that's great. That because you make albums and you put the stuff out, and then it can kind of just wander off into the ether. So it must be really nice to have somebody whose music you respect come back and go, oh wow, we really, we're influenced by this and love that. It's a really great compliment to get from a peer like that.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and the thing about Matt is, that's a quite a collaboration we have going, and that's very interesting for me because I've been so insular for since I started. Very few collaboration situations, surely never co-writing. Production here and there, I've brought in someone to produce or co-produce various things, but not very many. So working with Matt in this way is new for me, and at the same time very rewarding. So
Do you think that it's something that you would like to do more of and work with other people as you get older? It seems like you're getting a little more comfortable perhaps with the concept.
I, yeah, I mean, I'm old enough to know that not being open to things is a negative attitude. So I'm open to it if the right thing comes along. I do feel lucky that the Matt thing fell into place so naturally because his first of all, lyrically, he's incredible.
Mhm.
It's hard to think of someone writing songs now. I mean, there's great lyricists, but there's something about how he can just put, 5 words together, and you immediately it paints this picture that sticks in your head, and he can repeat it 6 times in one song, and it's still incredible. And so his lyrics in combination with his phrasing, which is very unique and interesting, uh, it just it makes that the experience of working with him really exciting, you know. Uh, I guess I can explain it in this way. Like sometimes I'll send him 2 versions of a song. So me playing chords on a piano and singing along a melody that I've written to those chords, and then and I think the melody's pretty great because I've deemed it a song because I found a melody over the piano part, and then I'll send him the same thing but without my vocal singing over it, just the chords, and then he'll sometimes send me back him singing, uh totally disregarding what my melody was. In fact, sometimes often he'll start singing on a different chord, like he'll wait 2 chords and he'll start then, and then his phrasing is so incredible, I can't even listen to my original thing that I had that made me think I had a great song, you know what I mean? And
Uh-huh.
so, it's those moments that I just, like, I live for. I mean, I just whatever. When I first come up with a song on my own and I feel excited about it, that's the moment that, like, for 2 weeks later, I'm kinda still on a high from. And then when someone else when I do it with Matt and he does something that's even more exciting, I just it's those are the feelings I'm looking for that don't happen often,
Well, it seems like maybe you need to make your process like, you come up with the stuff, you put down the demo version, and then you send it off to somebody like Matt that you trust and kind of make it the two-stage process, you know?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I do it sometimes. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely not writing, 5 songs a day right now. That's for sure. So
No.
any help I can get.
Fair enough. I guess I just find it fascinating that, I mean, I know you made albums, obviously, back in the day, you did, the major label album where you had Greg Leash and Josh Freese and we're in this kind of that environment. And I always got the sense, I mean, to go back to the fleeing convict analogy, that you very much wanted to retreat from a lot of that aspect of as you talked about the music business and all the stuff that was part and parcel, but not necessarily part of creating the songs. So I guess I find it interesting that at this stage of the game, you are still sitting in that room behind you by yourself, just, essentially doing everything yourself, right? I mean, on the new album, there's only a handful of guest spots from other people playing a mellotron here or a guitar there, but it's just you alone in that room. Um, it just strikes me as it must be hard, I think,
Or incredible.
Is it? Does it still give you that rush?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing. Well, there's a few things in my life, but like is knowing I have, say like 6 hours up here to just make something out of nothing is the best, and I don't take it for granted. And uh, occasionally I get into a mindset where I think it would be healthy to work with other people and hash things out with a band and record a record live off the floor. I do think that that would be a good step for me and a good thing, and I always have that idea, but I don't know why it never sort of pans out all that well. I actually did do a session up north, where we brought a bunch of equipment uh, to a cottage and recorded four people live, and I threw some of these songs in there, and and it was great, and it went pretty well, but then none of it ended up on the record. So I don't know. I try. I do try. I try new things each record. I really feel that I do, and occasionally they work, and then more times than not, I just kind of go back to what I did the first time when I was by myself, and just adding things myself. I
Right.
don't know.
What were you trying new on this record?
Well, I mean, doing that the up north thing with the
Oh, okay. I
with
get you.
4 live artists,
I got
the
you.
doing songs with Matt,
Okay.
bringing Aaron in, like, those are all things that are away from me just working by myself here, so,
I hear you. I hear you.
yeah.
Um, and you've also been playing again, touring again. I mean, I know you have done shows obviously over the past several years. You haven't been a total recluse, but so getting out on the road again for a stretch of time. What were those first shows like for you? Was there a lot of rust to scrape off, or was it something that you hadn't realized you'd missed until you got up there? What was the experience like?
The first couple of shows were, like, a bit rough with mistakes and starting some songs over again, that kinda thing, but they had a pretty good spirit, and I'm pretty I've learned how to, turn those moments into, a laugh, or, and people describe them as making the shows more interesting than hearing someone do perfect renditions of their catalog. Uh so yeah, I was quite nervous to play for the first couple shows, and then I just sort of fell into a rhythm. And the overwhelming feeling I had was that just from the reaction and people talking to me after, it was just really beautiful. It made me feel great. People seem to be in a it's sort of a bit of a nostalgic place and appreciating things even more that they loved years ago. And uh yeah, and I was trying out new songs too, and it was good for my ego. I don't know.
Well, sure, it's nice to
you know
be missed.
after doing just being at home doing laundry for 3 years, it felt good.
Um, what's your relationship like with a lot of the old songs? Because I obviously, going back out on the road and deciding, well, okay, I've got this new stuff to do, but I have to and probably want to do some of your, older stuff. But you're not kind of handcuffed by having, you're not Steve Miller, who's got like 17 number one radio hits. He has to play whether he likes it or not.
Yes,
You can pick and
I have
choose.
zero.
Yeah, well, wasn't going to go that far, but
You can just say it.
well,
I'm just
you
joking.
have, but you have a lot of songs that mean a lot to a lot of people. You have things that are going to be
That's
crowd
nice.
favorites, so you have to pick and choose. But what's your relationship with those songs? Is it sometimes hard to connect with the guy who wrote those, or do they still ring very true to you, or what?
Well, that varies too, because there are some nights that a song will take me by surprise, and it's a song I wrote when I was 24, and I'm in the middle of it, and all of a sudden I'm like, it's making me emotional for whatever reason, and then and and other nights, like, certain songs are just muscle memory, and I I've finished the song, and I can't even remember doing it, you know what I mean?
Right,
So
sure.
yeah, it goes all over the place, and of course, the new songs are the ones that you're still in a little bit. You're in them, and so they have a bit more of a consistent weight night after night. But yeah, on this set of tours, there were several songs I played from my very first record, and I would just have moments during them where I was like, "What? Like, who was this kid? Like, oh wow, that's such." I sort of, I was I was like sort of reacquainting myself with an earlier version of me, you know. I was like, oh yeah, cool guy.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you liked it as
Or like,
opposed to,
what an idiot. Yeah.
well, it
Yeah.
could have been the high school yearbook photo reaction, you
Well,
know?
some of this, yeah, some of the songs are, trust me, yeah. But
Uh-huh.
some of them are all right. So
All right. So,
luckily.
are you going to be touring a lot this year for the album? Is that the plan?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I definitely hope to put together at least a, you know, a nice potential band tour. I did a lot of this, well, I did everything solo so far, which was
Right.
incredible. A great way to connect with the songs and with the audience. But yeah, there's a lot of flourishes and instrumentation that I'm excited to hear back live. So yeah, I'm gonna put together at least a nice extensive tour
Good. Is there
and
is there is there any
expensive too.
is there any trepidation about stepping back into all of this? Because you seem like you're a guy who's, and I believe me, I totally understand this. You're a guy who's very comfortable just being at home, doing your thing, not having to deal with people. So I would think there's maybe a little bit of as I said, a little trepidation about, okay, got to go out and be that version of Hayden again.
Right. Not really. I think the reason is that 2 years making a record, three max, is reasonable, but the amount of time that I was in studio mode or songwriting mode and not going out, it was just too long this time. So this time around, I don't want to be in the studio or home. I do, I mean, home,
No, I
yes, to
get you.
be with my family and stuff, but it's like these three tours I did, Ontario, East Coast, and West Coast of Canada, were the most fun I've had on the road in years.
Oh,
And so it's been a pleasure. Like I'm surprising myself, like wow, this is really great. And there's also that sort of thankful element that I still can, and that many most of the shows were in fact sold out. So I'm very thankful for that as well. So
yeah. And well, and since you've got like 50 songs left over, I'm presuming we're not going to have to wait 8 years for another album.
I can't guarantee that because I have a habit of having trouble with coming back from touring a record and then going into writing and recording mode, and going back and listening to things that I did 2 years before, a year before, is not usually what I want to do. I just want to start fresh. So to the detriment of some songs that could have been good or could have been special, they sometimes don't really see the light of day, So
Do you
I
have a
don't
lot of
know. I
those
can't
things?
guarantee.
Do you
Pardon
have a
me?
lot of those? Do you have a lot of those? I mean, obviously, 50 songs here sitting around, but I mean, has that been the case throughout your career where for every 10-song album you make, you might have written 20, 25 songs, and those other 10, 15 songs just vanish into the ether? I mean, are there literally hundreds of unreleased songs that you've got on a hard drive somewhere?
No, there's usually like, you know, 5 to 10 uh, uh, that I think I'll go back to that I don't. But this time, like because of the
Yeah.
time period, and there was it was a this was such a weird one though. There were several factors at play as to why this one took so long, and one of the reasons was I did a whole project in 2016 that didn't see the light of day. So that's a whole other separate chunk of songs related to a project that is just, I don't know what it is, but so I didn't really start working on this stuff till 2017, which is so crazy when I even think of the dates. But anyway,
Well, I guess someday we'll have to wait for long after we're both gone. Somebody will dig through your vault, and it'll be the the Prince-like releases of here's another Hayden album, here's another Hayden album.
No, that won't happen because there's instructions that my notebooks and my vaults have to be destroyed when I pass. So
Oh yeah, are you serious? Or kidding?
I'm half kidding. I mean, I struggle with that. The whole why didn't that person deem that releasable at the time, and why after they're dead is it okay to put that out if they never wanted to put it out? It's a tough one. I mean, I get it that the fans love it, but it's a tough one.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wait and see, and neither of us will know.
We will not know.
All right. Listen, man, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. I was kind of surprised to find that you were doing interviews because, I mean, for years you've kind of been tagged as a recluse. Do you think you've changed in that regard, or are you just kind of, falling on that grenade to sell some albums, as it were?
Sells. People don't sell albums anymore. Um,
True.
uh, I don't know. I'm not really. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit of a recluse. I just there's parts of this job that I feel like I'm better at than others, and communicating why I did this or what a song is about. Or what band I'm into. Those are the things that I just they don't come as easy as the fun parts do. So I just in the past I avoid them, when I can, or if I also kind of wear my heart on my sleeve. So if I'm not in a good state to talk
Mm.
publicly about things, it's probably better for my career that I stay home and, not engage.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Uh-huh.
not I'm not a good faker. So that can be a good quality too, but I think that's one of the reasons you don't see me sometimes.
I got you. Well, as far as the last 30 minutes have been, you've done a fine job. And if you're faking, well, then you are a pretty good faker.
No,
So,
I'm not faking. That's the whole thing. It's a good
all
day. It's a good day.
right.
Yeah.
Good. Glad to hear it. Hope there's more to
Yeah.
come. Listen, thanks
Thank
for your
you.
time today, and I love the new album, and best of luck with it. And we'll see you somewhere down the road.
Okay, thanks so much.
All right. Cheers. Bye.
Okay, cheers. Bye-bye.